In this video, I'm going to talk about a problem that has been asked in many interviews at FANG companies and probably other companies too. This is a very interesting problem. It's on Leetcode. The problem is, given an integer array nums, return an array answer such that answer I is equal to the product of all the elements of nums except nums I. So if you look at the examples, it is like, the array is 1, 2, 3, 4, and at 0 index of the array, it should be the product of rest of the elements, which is 2 into 3 into 4, 24, and likewise for other elements too. There are other conditions too, and the conditions are the product of any prefix or suffix of nums is guaranteed to fit in a 32-bit integer, so you don't have to worry about like thinking about using long variables or things like that. One additional piece of information in the question is you must write an algorithm that runs in O(n) time and without using the division operation. Now in an actual interview, this condition might be something that interviewer asks you once you have solved the problem, just to see that whether you can think of an optimized solution or not. So what we will do is that we will first try to solve this problem and then worry about the improvement. So if you have to solve the problem without worrying about not using the division operation, an effective way is that you define the product, and that product will be multiplication of all the elements. So from our example 1 2 3 4 array, the product will be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4, which is 24, and then we would do a for loop, and for each nums I, what we would do is we would do product divided by nums I. So this is one easy way to solve it, and in this case the time complexity will be big O(n), and there is no space complexity, so space complexity will be constant. So this is you can think of like much better solution than a brute force. A brute force solution would be that we have two for loops, where in the outer for loop we are going through each of the element, and in the inner for loop we are doing multiplication and not just the one which is in the outer loop, which would be O(n) square time complexity wise. So this is to solve the problem with the condition of not using division operation. We got to have a different approach, and in this approach what we are going to do is that we will have one array, at least the way I would like to solve it. I would have one array, and then I would have a couple of other variables that I will use for this. I will have left, right is equal to 1, and let me write up the example that we are going to look at while explaining the algorithm to you. So what I'm going to do is that I would loop from this point to the end of the array, and I would update answer with multiplying each of the element with left, and for every iteration of looping through, I would update the left with multiplying it to the respective element. So what it would do is that at iteration number 0, which is index 0 for nums I, left would be like 1 into 1, and for the next iteration left would be 1, and for answer I will be multiplied with 1, and it will the answer I would remain 1, but left would have upgraded to 2, so the third element in the array would become 2, and then left would be 6, so the last element would become 6. So this would be my loop, and what I'm doing here, I'm doing answer into left, and I'm doing nums I. And after the execution of this loop, the answer array would become like, and then I'm going to loop from right to left, from nums and here I'm going to update right with nums of I. So then what would happen is that at the last element where it is 6, it will remain 6 because it is getting multiplied with right, which at that time is just 1. And then right would become 4. So this would become 2, and then right would become 12, and then this would become 12, and then right would become 24, and so this is how you will have the result. So I hope the intuition is clear. Do let me know in comment section if there is any question on the intuition. And now for the implementation, it is pretty straightforward. We'll declare answer with nums.length. Sorry about the typos. And then what we do, int left equal 1, right is equal to 1. You would have a variable for looping. We will fill the array with what, 1, and then we're doing for loop. Here what we are doing, it becomes easy, when you write it down. So now it's just to look at what I wrote and just put it into the right syntax. And there we have our answer. So now we're just going to return alrighty. So let's just try and run it. Cool. So this solves the case that we had. We could add many more test cases and see whether it runs or not before submitting it, but I think this will work fine. So cool. So that's what it is. Runtime is 2 milliseconds, faster than 80% of Java Online submissions. Memory usage is there because we are creating an array. So you could have these questions asked like what are the options to reduce the memory or not. So if division operation condition is not mentioned to you, you can go with the solution that we discussed earlier in the video. Alright, hope you liked the video. Let me know of any questions. Thank you.